But you got to understand, Kenneth Copeland, he just spent the whole weekend in jail. He said he don't want to testify, and all of a sudden, in this ex parte meeting, they keep trying to put his mind at ease to get him to testify. And the problem with this is it's not just Miss Love. It's not just Miss Hilton. It's not just the DA's office. It's the judge, too.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. K.Will. He bought his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believing high level represent. Call your first witness. K.Will. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.
What's good, what's good, what's good, beautiful people? How you doing? How you living? How life treating you? It's your boy, K.Will. Welcome to another episode of Call Your First Witness. I'm glad you're here today. I'm excited about today's show. And I know I say that all the time, but let me tell you something. I think you might enjoy today's show, right? I'm gonna spend some time with you today. So get comfortable, sit back. If it's too long for you, just press pause and come right back to it. You understand? So how you doing? How things going? Hope you're enjoying your summer. You know, I don't know what country you're living in right now or if you're in the States, but I hope you're enjoying your summer, man. It's nothing like summertime. You know, I just came back from vacation with the fam. And, you know, I always look forward to that time of the year. But I'm back to work, excited to be back with you. I don't know if you went on vacation, you got plans to go on vacation. Let me tell you something. If you're going to Paris for the Olympics, I'm jealous. I need you to know that right now. I'm jealous. But look, you know me. I like to jump right into it. And like I said, I'm going to spend some time today. I got time, y'all. I got time. It's that time of the year. You know what I mean? It's kind of slow where I practice in New Orleans. You know what I mean? Days leading up to the 4th of July. Some of the judges are out. Some of the lawyers are out. You know, now don't get me wrong. It still be on and popping. They still be having trials on the week of the 4th. But it's not as crazy as it normally be. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie. I always tell y'all how it's on and popping in Atlanta. Look, y'all, don't get it twisted. See at Tulane and Broad in New Orleans? Ooh, Lord, I be tripping over court reporters trying to get to court. It's always something happening, you know what I mean? Just the other day, shout out to Jillian Kramer, a writer with Times-Picayune, the newspaper here in New Orleans. She was like, Mr. Willis, you got a trial today? I said, no, my friend, not today. But you know, I'll let you know. It's always something happening in New Orleans, a high-profile case. Not saying I got all the high-profile cases, but it's always on and popping out here in the city as well. But look, back to the ATL. Ooh, y'all, where I left off at, right? Because I got a lot to cover. But where I left off at, Kenneth Copeland was testifying, right? The state has Kenneth Copeland on the stand. They had the ex parte hearing. If you don't know about that, your head is really in the sand right now. And if you need to be filled in, just catch my last episode and I'll bring you up to speed. But look, so we know about the ex parte hearing and we know how tumultuous that whole process was. We know about the noise that was made by all the defense attorneys, right? And so yet and still Judge Glanville, he's still trying to move on, still trying to act like nothing happened, still got Kenneth Copeland on the stand, right? But we can't sit up here and act like there's not a big pink elephant in the room, and that entails this ex parte hearing. Now, Kenneth Copeland's back on the stand. But in the meantime, of course, you had Brian still filing a motion to recuse the judge. You had, I believe, Max Shard, Shannon Stillwell's lawyer, filed a motion to recuse the judge. And you also had Doug Weinstein, Deamonte Kendrick's lawyer, a.k.a. Yak Gotti. Mr. Weinstein files a motion to recuse the judge, right? And I always told you this particular point in the trial was very pivotal because it entailed the killing of Donovan Thomas. And we're now starting to see Doug Weinstein do his thing, right? Now, his motion to recuse the judge is the reason why this bad boy came to a screeching halt. That's where we are right now, right? We not moving forward. Judge Glanville finally came around and decided, you know what? This thing needs to go to another judge to evaluate this motion for recusal that Mr. Weinstein filed. Now, what happened, Judge Glanville? Why the backtrack? You seemed like you were so confident you didn't want to entertain the motion for recusal up until Friday of last week. But we also learned that Doug Weinstein filed a motion of recusal before the court. Now listen, this wasn't Doug Weinstein's first motion. Remember, initially he went straight to the Supreme Court. He said, listen, we got a whole lot of things going on with this ex parte hearing. We need to hear from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, hold up now, you might be on to something, but you needed to file in Fulton County. You file with them first, you have the hearing, you let them decide. And so what I realized after hearing from Doug Weinstein, the whole process was strategic. He was like, listen, we kept striking out with Judge Glanville. Motion for recusals were already filed in front of Judge Glanville, and they just sitting on his desk. He ain't doing nothing with it. He just moving on. You got Kenneth Copeland on the stand. He acting like nothing just happened. He acting like June 10th, 2024, this year of our Lord, never happened when he put Kenneth Copeland in his room. He had Miss Love in his room. He had Miss Hilton in his room, Kayla Bumpus, everybody in his room except the defense lawyers. He just moving on like, I took care of that. I got that under control. Y'all need to chill. And so you have a situation where all the defense lawyers are persistent. They keep nudging away. They gonna get through. It remind me of Jurassic Park, man. I think it was the latest one that came out, or the second to latest that came out. And the dinosaurs, man, they were so smart because although the fence was wired, and if you climb on the fence, you would get electrocuted, the dinosaurs kept coming back, kept going back, because they knew if they keep going back, at some point, the structure of this fence is going to break down, right? And so these defense lawyers were like, listen, we understand we up against a whole lot, but we got to come at this strategically. And that's when Doug Weinstein was saying, listen, we need to go about this in a different way. You see, Doug Weinstein, 2 days later, after the ex parte hearing, he was in front of the judge and he filed his initial motion to recuse the judge. And I was listening to his interview, and he had me laughing because he was like, yo, man, I'm filing my motion, and the judge going off on me because I'm asking the judge, like, listen, you going to act like this cloud ain't hanging over this trial right now? And I'm paraphrasing, but he like, listen, we got a whole dark cloud hanging over this trial, and we going to move on like nothing just happened. And so he said, Mr. Weinstein said the judge, he thought the judge quoted Walter White off of Breaking Bad, said, I'm going to remind you of your professional duty. You need to tread lightly. He said that in the interview, man. I'm like, Lord have mercy. He done brought up Breaking Bad. And I swear, and I think I remember that episode. You know what I mean? That was my show, y'all. Breaking Bad was a classic, man. If you ain't watched Breaking Bad, man, you might want to check that one out. And listen, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I didn't finish it. That's a little problem I have, y'all, as an aside. It seemed like all the, I don't know, something up with me. I don't know what's my problem. I be tripping, y'all. I never finished these good series, y'all. I don't know. I haven't finished Game of Thrones. Even the legal ones, you know. What's that series called? Your Honor? Didn't finish it. Good, and it don't matter. It don't matter if it's a good one, man. My wife be so mad at me. We start watching it. You know what I mean? It's good, it's interesting, and all of a sudden I just fall off. That's me. I don't know. That's my MO, y'all. I mean, look, don't tell nobody, but your boy ain't finished The Sopranos. I don't know what's the problem with me. I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't call it, y'all. You know, Lincoln Lawyer. It don't matter if it's a legal show. Didn't finish it. Love it. Didn't finish it. That's just my MO. You know what I mean? Walked in the house the other day. My wife was watching Bridgerton. Never saw it a day in my life. I was like, how you gonna start it without me, boo? She was like, boy, if you don't get out of my face right now. But anyway, man, Breaking Bad, that's a classic, y'all. But I just found it funny how Doug Weinstein said the judge quoted Walter White for Breaking Bad. That's crazy, y'all. But anyway, back to the case. Back to the case. So, you know, Doug Weinstein, like, listen, let's not sit up here and act like nothing happened. And so he got rejected. But then he said, look, I'm going to put it in front of the Supreme Court of Georgia. Georgia said, look, you got a few other things that you need to take care of before you come to us. And according to Mr. Weinstein, when that happened, that kind of put the judge on notice, because now you got the Supreme Court of Georgia chiming in saying, look, you needed to file it in Fulton County and do X, Y, Z. And basically what the higher courts were saying, this is your avenue right here. You understand? And so now all of a sudden, Judge Glanville has to respect that. And so when Doug Weinstein files his motion, y'all, it's another one. And this thing about 80-something pages. I mean, he didn't attach an affidavit, this high-level representation, y'all. He attached an affidavit from an attorney by the name of Lester Tate. Lester Tate, in that affidavit, stated that he's been a trial lawyer for 36 years, knows the ins and outs of judicial conduct, represented judges, advised judges, right? So essentially what he's saying in this affidavit, Mr. Tate, I'm pretty much an expert as it comes to judicial conduct. No, I'm not a judge. I'm a lawyer, but I represent judges. I advise judges. And I got a chance to look at the videos, right? Highly publicized trial. The public has access to this trial, what's happening in the courtroom. That's the beauty of cameras in the courtroom. And he's saying, listen, let's focus on the fact that when the judge had this ex parte hearing, the judge was supposed to immediately disclose to the defense lawyers about the ex parte meeting. And we know that didn't happen. And so Mr. Tate is saying in his affidavit, this questions Mr. Glanville's ability to be fair and impartial in this particular case. Now, Mr. Weinstein, Yak Gotti's lawyer, is not just saying this is the grounds for the motion of recusal, but he's adding that as further reasons to support his motion. And see, this is the beauty of lawyers working together. Yes, all these defense lawyers are representing their respective clients, but at the same time, they have a common theme. They have a common goal. They all trying to walk. And so you don't need me to tell you that it's apparent that these lawyers, although representing their respective clients, they're also acting in concert. And that's the beauty of working with attorneys for co-defendants. I'm talking brilliant minds, experienced lawyers. Listening to Mr. Weinstein's interviews, he said some of these lawyers worked together for many years. And so you see that on full display. It's strategic. Brian Steele and Keith Adams, who represent Young Thug, they're going to focus on this issue. I'm going to be in the cut filing this motion, and we already know the judge going to deny it, but don't worry about that issue, because while you filing that motion, I'm going to have my team filing this other motion to recuse the judge, and we're going to go in front of a higher courts. So nobody's redundant, but collectively they're effective. We don't got time to waste time when everybody's doing the same thing. We need to be efficient how we attack this particular issue. All 6 defendants want the judge recused from the case. And you got to understand, yes, Young Thug is the headliner. His name is literally on the marquee. You see Young Thug. You may not see Yak Gotti, or Yak Gotti name might be right under Young Thug on the marquee. But let me remind you, it's Yak Gotti who's on trial for murder, not Young Thug. Yes, Young Thug is on trial for conspiracy to commit murder, but it's the murder charge Yak Gotti's on trial for. It's the murder charge Shannon Stillwell is on trial for, who's represented by Max Sharp. And so that's why I always said you gonna hear a lot of activity from these lawyers, and Doug Weinstein has put himself central to this particular case. And like I said, he is responsible for shutting this whole trial down right now. Hold up. Let's have this recusal hearing. I don't know what happened, y'all. Because you got to remember, last Friday, the judge had a plan. He said, Monday, we're going to talk about the recordings of Kenneth Copeland. Tuesday, we're going to talk about the transcript. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Y'all going to come in chambers and we're going to talk about this transcript. I think it was said that some of the transcript was going to be redacted. That was the plan ending last week, moving into this week. What happened, Judge Glanville? You said we were going to meet in chambers and talk about this transcript. You said it was going to be redacted. At least I believe that's what was said. But now, come Monday, you didn't change your tune. Why so? Maybe you had a chance to sit back and read Doug Weinstein's motion for recusal. The same motion that the Georgia Supreme Court pretty much said, listen, before you come to us, you got to file it in Fulton County. And so now, as Mr. Weinstein put it, the judge's hands were tied, right? Because now you got to look at this. Because now you need to slow your roll. Yeah, you got the black robe on, but listen, this is a critical issue, right? At a critical stage of the case. Brian Steele reminded you, remember Brian Steele at the podium talking about this was a critical stage of the case where my client, Jeffrey Williams, was not part of this ex parte meeting. And so what happened over the weekend? Y'all, let me remind you that, and you don't need me to tell you this, but judges are humans just like us, right? And they had to become lawyers before they became judges. And the fact that you have that black robe doesn't mean your say-so is the end-all be-all. I remember sitting down with a retired judge, Marion Edwards. And he was retired at the time, but when I was practicing a lot in St. Landry Parish, he came and presided over our cases for about 6 months. Retired judges could do that, right? They can retire, but they can kind of be a judge on a part-time basis, basically. And so I remember he was sitting down with me and some of my other friends who are lawyers, defense lawyers. He was like, Ken, man, these judges, man, they put on that robe and they think they Superman or Superwoman, right? Like they forget to humble themselves. It's like, yo, just because you the judge, that don't mean you know everything. And so a lot of times the judges, they get so caught up in trying to be right and what they say goes and getting caught up in their emotions. Sometimes they forget to reflect and say, hold up, what's really going on right now? You see, Judge Glanville was so upset about the information, according to him, was leaked. He didn't sit back and reflect that maybe I went about doing this the wrong way. And so if you realize, man, that happened June 10th. We way in July and you just disclosing the transcript. You just coming around to say, okay, maybe we need to have a separate hearing to decide whether or not I need to be recused. That's really not your call. The law pretty much lays it out for you. And so what I believe happened, and this happens from time to time, Judge Glanville reached out to maybe a retired judge, maybe somebody who been in the game longer than he has. Yes, he's the chief judge. Yes, he probably been on the bench longer than a lot of his other colleagues. But again, that doesn't mean you know everything. That doesn't mean you can't be wrong. And so I believe he took that weekend and really had to take inventory of some of the rulings he was making as it relates to the motion for recusal, because he changed his tune in such a way. Now you revealing the transcript. Now you signing off on the motion of recusal. Now you realize this ain't nothing to play with. And so now the case has come to a screeching halt. You could have did that 2-3 weeks ago. And so in the past, you were making all the noise about the delays in the trial and the state got to be more efficient and the defense got to be more efficient. My brother, you got to be more efficient. You can't be waiting this long to come to terms with, yo, that meeting you had? Man, I don't know. I don't know right now. And I ain't gonna lie, y'all, when it happened, it smelled bad. It looked bad. I'm like, yo, they really did this? But at the same time, Judge Glanville, he had his court reporter. It seemed as though he was confident that he did the right thing. And so although I realize as a defense lawyer, this don't smell right. You mean to tell me Kenneth Copeland in a room with a whole bunch of police officers, the prosecutors, and the judge. And yeah, he had counsel there. He had Caleb Bumpus, but that didn't go so well for him, as we realized. And so to me, I was like, man, nothing good can come out of that meeting. But as my professor always taught me, there are exceptions to almost every rule. And so I'm not a Georgia attorney, but I really wanted to know what grounds are the judge relying on to support why he had that ex parte hearing. Because I know under certain circumstances, it can happen. I realize under Georgia law, the judge pretty much laid it out after the fact, right? Now he's trying to give his justifications after the fact. And y'all, this just happened. This happened, I think, Monday. He said, look, I'm going to give y'all the transcript. I'm confident in my reasons for having an ex parte hearing. And for the record, I'm going to tell you why the ex parte hearing was appropriate. And basically he said, listen, this matter was an emergency. And that gave me the reason to have this ex parte meeting. It was appropriate. And then he cited case law. Now here we go, y'all. Like this is it right here, because now what he's doing is he's justifying his ruling. And so he came out with Georgia versus Adams. And he said, I'm relying on Georgia versus Adams because the court said in that particular case that because the witness did not want to testify for fear of reprisal, the witness felt threatened, the witness was in fear of their safety. That was the basis for having that ex parte meeting. And Georgia versus Adams said under these circumstances, it is permissible. That makes sense, right? You got a witness who's saying, listen, I'm getting threats. I'm in fear of my safety. I'm in fear of my life. I don't know if some of this coming from the defendants. And so the court said, listen, in the case of a witness or even a juror, they can go to the judge and say, listen, this needs to be addressed. Y'all, we did not have that in this particular case. When did Kenneth Copeland ever said, I'm in fear of my safety? That's one thing we did not hear, at least when he took the stand. And he sat on that stand for multiple weeks, sat and looked at each and every defendant. At no time he never did say, I'm in fear of my safety. I feel threatened. And so Judge Glanville, you come out the gate and that's the best case you have to support your position? You might want to talk to your law clerk and say, yo, that's the best you got? Because, you know, law clerks, sometimes the law clerks be doing the research too. I used to be a law clerk for a couple of judges. And a judge come to me and be like, look, Kenneth, this is my position. Go and find me some case law to back this up. I don't know if Judge Glanville was leaning on his law clerk or he was doing all the research. I know he'd be on that laptop on his bench and doing a lot of research himself. So I don't know, but man, at least help me out. I'm going to look for some cases and you look for some cases. But Georgia versus Adams, I don't know if that should have been your primary basis for having an ex parte hearing. No, if you saying, according to this case, it was permissible because the witness felt threatened. That's not the case here. And that was confirmed when you finally revealed the transcript. Yeah. What it was, 57 pages. Y'all, I read it. You know your boy read that transcript. I had to read it twice. Yeah. What we talking about? Where in this transcript Kenneth Copeland ever said, I'm in fear of my safety, I'm in fear of my life? Where? You know what we did find out? Page 21. Yes, Judge. Your words asking Miss Love and I guess Miss Bumpus, is Kenneth Copeland in fear of his life? And I'm paraphrasing, but does Kenneth Copeland feel threatened? Hold up. Nobody mentioned that. What you doing? Hold up. Page 21, I'm telling y'all, he interjected that as an issue. Nobody addressed it. And then you see Miss Love try to latch on to it. Yeah, because his lawyer, Melnick, was talking about, y'all going to get him killed. Y'all going to get him killed. No. See, that's the problem. When Mr. Melnick not being there, not to defend his words, you got Miss Bumpus there, but she's saying, listen, I only came in to stand in for Mr. Copeland. So it's a hot mess because you got Mr. Melnick not present. You got Miss Love saying, well, this is what Mr. Melnick said. This is what he emailed me. Hold up. We don't know the full nature of that conversation, but she did quote him and say, you trying to get him killed. What he mean is you forcing him to testify when he doesn't want to testify, you gonna get him killed. The man told you he plead the fifth. He's serving his penalty. The judge put him in jail. He spent the entire weekend for not testifying. He said he plead the fifth and he's not testifying. In this ex parte meeting, Miss Love quote Mr. Melnick. Mr. Melnick not there. I kind of clowned him last episode. He somewhere on a vacation somewhere. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't there. And that was a critical stage. And you got Miss Bumpus saying, listen, I'm just here for one day. I can't be here for tomorrow. I got to leave. And then you have her in the transcript saying, Judge, I'm not prepared. She came in just to stand in. And so that makes sense. Of course she's not prepared. But you got to understand, Kenneth Copeland, he just spent the whole weekend in jail. He said he don't want to testify. And all of a sudden, in this ex parte meeting, they keep trying to put his mind at ease to get him to testify. And the problem with this is it's not just Miss Love. It's not just Miss Hilton. It's not just the DA's office. It's the judge too. Hold up. You supposed to have on a black robe. Yeah, you the umpire. You the arbiter. What you doing? Look at the transcript. They keep going back to, let me explain to you how you could purge yourself, how you can get out of jail. Let me break it down to you. The man said, I'm okay with doing my time. Yeah, the transcript laid it out because Miss Hilton, the prosecutor, is saying, look, you're going to be in trial for the duration of this trial and also the other defendants. And at first she said, we got 6 more defendants. And then she turned around and said, no, we got 12 more. And the judge chiming in, yeah, that's a long time. But let me tell you something. Kenneth Copeland said, I done did longer time. And so if you have Kenneth Copeland pleading the fifth on that Friday before the ex parte meeting Monday morning, you have him serving the time, and then you have him in this meeting on Monday morning saying, I done did more time. You have him essentially saying, I'm okay with the consequences as it relates to me not testifying. And he's saying that without Mr. Melnick. He's saying that with Ms. Bumpus, who's trying to get off the case. And so it's evident from the transcript, his rights are not being fully protected. Let's just keep it real. Ms. Bumpus is saying, I'm not fully prepared. I only came in to stand in. Mr. Melnick is gone, but this man's liberty is at stake and also his life because he does not want to testify. And so what the judge should have did, among many things he should have did, was make sure Mr. Copeland was adequately represented. You got Kayla Bumpus saying, man, I'm trying to get off. I'm just standing in, right? I'm not trying to get into the substantive issues because, Judge, I'm not prepared. Judge Glanville should have shut it down and say, you know what? We need to figure out when Mr. Melnick is coming back. If Mr. Melnick is not coming back, then maybe we need to give Mr. Copeland time to get a new attorney. This particular meeting ain't going well for him. But no, what does he say? He said, oh, it's going to be all right, Ms. Bumpus. All you got to do is just explain to him this immunity deal. It's not a big deal. Just go ahead and explain to him. Judge, you supposed to be hands off. Why is it so important for you for Mr. Copeland to testify? You made your ruling. You said you don't want to testify? Go do your time. Because if you think about it, according to the transcript and also according to the judge's reasons for having an ex parte meeting, it was because the DA said, listen, Judge, we need to have this meeting. Not Mr. Copeland. Again, Mr. Copeland ain't saying I'm in fear of my life. Judge, I need to talk to you. I'm scared. I'm afraid. He didn't say that. The DA set this up. The DA requests for this meeting without the defense lawyers. And so this whole situation, Kenneth Copeland, one of the first things he sat down and said when they questioned him in that meeting, he said, Judge, I've been a liar all my life. But what I'm about to tell you right now is the truth. I do not comprehend anything that's going on right now. I've been a liar all my life. If you the defense lawyer, you just gonna keep that in your back pocket for later. You gonna say that for later. You've been a liar all your life. And that's not shocking to any of us. But you just go ahead and keep that in your back pocket because you might need that somewhere down the road. You've been a liar all your life? Okay, let's talk about what happened in that interview with the police officers the day after the murder. And then 6 months after. And then a year after. Everything you told the police. And that's nothing shocking to us. But from a defense standpoint, you got to make sure it resonates with the jury. But anyway, that ex parte meeting was so complex for Mr. Copeland, Judge Glanville should have shut that thing down. Nah, we're not doing this. He's not adequately represented. So what you see in this transcript is Miss Love and Judge Glanville kind of turning into Mr. Copeland's attorney. They're advising him, oh, it's going to be okay. Where the law says this is what immunity is. And if you want to purge yourself and if you want to be home, this is how you can get out of jail. And every time you see the judge keep chiming in, not staying out of it, not being neutral, not being the judge. And this the part, y'all. So this is what jumped out to me and hit me like a ton of bricks. All right. Miss Hilton, page 46, y'all. If y'all have access to this transcript, I'm telling y'all, page 46, Miss Hilton tells Kenneth Copeland, YSL has put you in jail already too many times. And I'm paraphrasing. But look at page 46 when she references YSL as being the reason why he already served jail time. And what's startling is the silence from Judge Glanville. At that moment when Miss Hilton referenced YSL and they the reason why he going to jail, totally inappropriate. That in and of itself, the fact that that was said, the fact that the defense lawyers weren't present, that in and of itself grounds for a mistrial. And let me tell y'all something. As I'm speaking right now, the defense lawyers are drafting up motions. Now that they got the transcript, they can cite verbatim what was said in that meeting room. And I don't know. I anticipate they're going to probably supplement their motion for recusal and cite what was said. And they're going to go through it line by line and point out all the specific issues with this ex parte meeting that's evident in the transcript. And it's going to be consistent with what they already were saying. Influencing the witness. Witness intimidation. But this particular quote, when Miss Hilton said, YSL is the reason for you going to jail, that right there was the time for Judge Glanville to say, hold up, Miss Hilton, you way out of line. That's your theory. That hasn't been proven. That's within the purview of the jury. You can't tell this man who is a witness who already was sworn in that YSL is the reason why he's going to jail in my presence. Yeah, that might be cool at the DA's office somewhere in y'all meeting room. We know you done sat down with Kenneth Copeland on numerous occasions, but hold up, Judge Glanville's in the room. And so how you gonna say something like that? And I believe that was a mistake by Miss Hilton. I don't know if Miss Love would have went that far, right? It's no secret that Miss Love is more seasoned than Miss Hilton, and so I don't know if Miss Love would have went that far. See, Miss Hilton forgot where she was because the environment was pro-prosecutor. Again, you had the deputies, you had Mr. Copeland, you had two prosecutors. So for Miss Hilton, she forgot where she was. Hold up, you got the judge sitting right there. Remember, the judge articulated his rationale that you can't get into the substance of the testimony. But you also can't be coming up with your theory with the judge right there. And the problem is not just Miss Hilton, it's really the judge. Yeah. It's kind of like what we learned in contracts. Your silence is acceptance, judge. The fact that you did not say anything, you did not call Miss Hilton out when she made that inappropriate statement. You just sat there. Hold up, I thought you were the referee. Yeah, you didn't took that Foot Locker jersey off, big dog. What you doing? Now you on team prosecutor? I mean, that ain't no secret to most of us. We see, it's evident, but golly, you just gonna let her say that and not address it? That's the problem right there. And that echoes what Mr. Steele was saying, Mr. Adams is saying, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Weinstein. That echoes Mr. Tate, the expert who said he advises judges and represents judges. That echoes what they're saying. You're not impartial. You're not neutral. When you sit there silent and let Ms. Hilton say statements like that, you part of the team. Yeah, you might as well just put on a black suit, a fresh white shirt, get you a conservative tie, and say I'm part of the prosecutor team. You know how it is. Them prosecutors, man, they don't come with no flair. You dig? That transcript got so many problems, y'all. And I guarantee you the lawyers are going to reference each and every particular problem in that transcript, and they may attach it to their already filed motion for recusal. They may file more motions. I'm telling y'all, that transcript, when I saw that, I was like, there it is right there, on top of all the other problems. Influencing the witness. There was no emergency. There was no urgency, Judge. What are you talking about? Why are you citing Georgia versus Adams? And then he's citing more cases talking about there weren't any tactical advantages. What are you talking about, Judge? What do you mean there weren't any tactical advantages? The DA on Friday before the ex parte hearing wanted and needed Kenneth Copeland to take the stand. Kenneth Copeland decided he wasn't going to take the stand. His consequences were to spend a weekend in jail. The state don't have Kenneth Copeland. This man said, I'm going to live with the consequences, hold me in contempt, whatever the case may be, I plead the fifth. And now all of a sudden, at this ex parte meeting, we go at the very bottom, the last few pages of the transcript, all of a sudden, Kenneth Copeland decides to testify. That's the game changer. That's the tactical advantage right there. What the state wanted and needed, they got it. That's it, Judge. You can't see the forest for the trees. That transcript gonna come back and haunt them. And I hope the courts look at this and say, we can't rock with this one. We know that the case has been halted, and now it has to go in front of another judge. Mr. Weinstein is thinking that the judge can't even be in Fulton County. I'm going to stay tuned on that issue, whether or not it's going to be a judge in Fulton County, one of Judge Glanville's colleagues, or it's going to go to another county. We got to stay tuned to this, y'all, because it's going to be very interesting, because what I realize is when it go in front of the judge, whomever that judge is, they can either make a decision right then and there, or they have a full-blown hearing. And y'all, if they have a full-blown hearing, I need y'all to get my subscription numbers up. I'm telling y'all, I'm trying to go live. I love doing a one-on-one. Don't get me wrong. This right here, I love it. But I got to be in a position where I got to go live and be running it to y'all in real time. So if you enjoying this, please subscribe. Please tell people about me. I'm trying to get my numbers up, y'all. I got a goal. You know I appreciate the love. Let's get these numbers up together. We growing together. We going to do this together because your boy ain't going nowhere. I got you. But yeah, man, I'm going to learn how to pull up the transcript, have me in a little small screen, and I'm giving it to you in real time. Yeah, I'm going to learn all that good stuff. But right now, I'm chilling. But if the new judge who evaluates all this has a hearing, which I would be shocked if didn't have the hearing. My goodness, the whole country is watching. And not just the country. You got folks overseas watching this, I promise you. Don't play with lyrics. Don't play with art. Don't play with that. No. You got folks all over the world. That's what they doing in America? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I would be shocked if there's not a hearing, a full-blown hearing. And let me tell y'all something. If there is a full-blown hearing, Judge Glanville becomes a witness. To my knowledge, to my understanding, I'm just thinking about a normal motion for recusal. I don't practice in Georgia, full disclaimer, but in Louisiana, if there is a motion for recusal and that thing goes in front of another judge, the judge that we're trying to recuse, we could put that judge on the stand. We can put that judge on the stand. I want you to imagine Judge Glanville is on the hot seat and you have Brian Steele who gets to examine him. You got Keith Adams who gets to examine him, the lawyers for Young Thug. And then when they finish with him, Max Shar gonna come up there. You know how they do it. And then you got Doug Weinstein waiting in the cut, salivating. And you know they strategic, so they're going to have it all nice and neat. You cover a certain part, I'm going to cover a certain part, and then I'm going to come in and close. I'm going to be the closer. You heard me? Whatever y'all didn't miss, I'm going to close that thing. Yeah, that's how they be working. So, y'all, if that's happening, I would love to be in a position to cover that in real time. I need more subscriptions. If I can't do it, it's all good. Your boy's still coming one-on-one. I got you. Don't trip. So that's where we at right now, y'all. It's at a pause. You got Kayla Bumpus. He had no choice but to let her off the hook. Remember, in my last episode, I said, y'all mark your calendar June 25th. He ordered a rule of show cause on June 25th. He wanted Kayla Bumpus to report back to court so she can address how that information got quote-unquote leaked. Remember that? And then so that date moved from the 25th to, I believe, July 3rd or something like that. What happened to that date? Vacated. Oh, yeah, he had an epiphany. That weekend, he talked to somebody. He talked to somebody wise. You know what I mean? It reminded me of A Time to Kill. Remember when Matthew McConaughey had to go talk to his mentor? Remember that? I can't think of the actor's name, man, but, you know, he was kind of up in age, a little frail, but the mind was still sharp. And Matthew McConaughey needed some advice, needed some wisdom. Yeah, he was a lawyer. Yeah, he was in the game, but he was humble enough to know he don't know it all. See, Judge Glanville was on his way to taking a course that it was going to be too late to turn around. And we don't know if he haven't done that yet. And so now, weeks after, now he want to get counsel. I believe that's what happened. That coupled with Georgia Supreme Court kind of setting it up for Yak Gotti's lawyer, Mr. Weinstein, like, yo, before you come to this, go holler at Fulton County. So you got that motion filed. You got to address it, Judge, right? You got time. And now it's like, man, you really, really, really made some serious blunders. Like, this thing might be grounds for a complete mistrial. This case is the longest case in Georgia history. And I really want to know why nobody's ever said it's the longest case in modern day American history. I'm so interested. One day I'm going to do my research. What trial was longer than this? Y'all, babies were conceived and born, man. Like, this, and the trial is still happening. Folks naming their son Jeffrey Williams watching this trial. I don't know. Trontavious, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, cause it's been going every day for over a year. It took a whole year just to pick the jury. And so could you imagine, Judge Glanville, you going down in history after all this time, the case was a mistrial because you had this ex parte hearing. And you citing Georgia versus Adams. That's not your best case. And he also said, listen, this was not a critical stage. Y'all, I told y'all I got a lot here. One of his other reasons for saying the ex parte meeting was appropriate was that it was not a critical stage for the defense. Now, what do we mean by critical stage? I want to take you back to June 10th when Brian Steele was articulating his position at that podium, right? And one of the first things he said when he said, Judge, I can't believe you had a private meeting without any of the defense lawyers at a critical stage of the proceedings. That was a critical stage of the proceedings, and my client was not present with his counsel. Essentially, the courts say, look, there are portions of a trial where the defendant has to be present. And if he or she is not present, that's a violation of their rights. And one of the critical stages are a pivotal point in a case where it can substantially have an effect on the outcome of the case. Y'all, this portion of the case is the killing of Donovan Thomas. The DA needs Kenneth Copeland to testify. If they don't have Kenneth Copeland to testify, they're going to have some serious problems with proving Deamonte Kendrick and Shannon Stillwell killed Donovan Thomas, and Young Thug was part of the conspiracy to get him killed. If you don't have Kenneth Copeland, how you going to get these videos in? What do you mean this is not a substantial part of the case where Young Thug, Deamonte Kendrick, Shannon Stillwell, you had that proceedings without them? You mean to tell me this is not affecting their case? Not Monday morning the state has Kenneth Copeland? They have what they wanted and needed. That was a game changer. Yeah, so when we talking about a critical stage, how can this not be a critical stage? There are certain portions of the trial where the defendant just has to be present. And I know this is kind of like, what do you mean? Like, of course the defendant has to be present during the trial. Not necessarily. Y'all, there are situations. I never had this, thankfully, in one of my trials, but there are cases where the defendant could just say, you know what, I'm done with this, and just stop showing up. Just say, you know what, I don't like the way this thing going right now. I'm not showing up. I almost had my own little situation with a case I had. So it was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years. I practiced a lot in Louisiana, but at this particular time, I moved back to New Orleans. I talk more about this story, and I think it's episode 3. Check it out, y'all. It's more of an inspirational episode. If you haven't watched it already or listened to it, check it out. But I'm back in New Orleans. And so, y'all, at this particular time, I got about 14 years under my belt. But you got to understand, in this business, in the trial arena, you got to earn your respect. So basically, it was 3 of us, and initially, I was scheduled to go handle some other cases. But one of the lawyers was like, listen, man, we got to change this thing up. We got a trial in this section. I can't make it because I got to handle something else right quick, but I just need you to call ready on this trial. Just call ready. Don't trip. I know you know enough about this thing, Kenneth. Do your thing. Let them folks know you ready to go to trial, and don't trip. We're going to be right there behind you. And so me being me, I'm like, bet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say I was adequately prepared to go to trial, but I knew enough about the case to pick a jury. I knew enough about the case to do an opening statement, so I walked up in there. Y'all, I'm telling you, you got to understand. The judges don't know me in Orleans at this time. Again, I just moved back. And so I'm a fresh face. You dig? I'm in front of the judge. And sometimes I don't reveal the judges, but I could say Judge White because she's retired now. And I don't have nothing bad to say about her. And I knew who Judge White was. I didn't appear in front of Judge White many years ago, y'all. I was a young attorney back then. It was my first year. You got to understand, some of my first cases were out of New Orleans. I'm there, but I'm not really there. I'm in and out. I'm back to St. Landry, back to Baton Rouge. Then I did a stint in New York, right? I'm back and forth. But in New Orleans, I'm a fresh face. So the judge looking at me, and she said, oh, you here on this case? Well, I need you to understand, we about to go to trial. And so I'm like, well, Judge, I'm here to call ready. I totally understand that. I had every intention on calling ready today, but I got one problem for you, Judge. My client's not here. And he not. He just absent. And the thing about it, it was well after 9 o'clock. I'm like, where's my client? And so guess what the judge said? She said, I hear you. What's your name? Mr. Willis, nice to meet you. But guess what? That's a you problem. We bringing this jury down. Y'all, I'm like, wait, what? We bringing this jury down. You understand? So I'm sitting at the podium, calm, cool, and collect. I'm saying, Your Honor, I respectfully, I would like to object for Your Honor to bring the jury down and start the trial and start voir dire. I don't know if we can really do that. My client's not here. She said, Mr. Willis, I'm sorry to tell you, we gonna move forward with this trial. Y'all, I'm baffled. Courtroom full of people. I'm still calm because I'm like, this don't sound right. I never had a situation where the trial would start without the client, right? I've heard of clients just vanishing, right? Doing a disappearing act. You like, man, where the client went? Man, he on his way to Houston. Say what? Yeah. He saw that jury, he out. Yeah, I've heard of those stories, but to start the jury, and so y'all, the judge was like, well, counsel, you have any law to cite why you can't move forward? Why we can't move forward without your client who knew he was scheduled here for trial and he doesn't show up? You have any law to support why we shouldn't move forward? Y'all, at this point, it was so egregious, so crazy, so ridiculous. I never heard of this ever happening. I was like, Judge, I don't know. I don't know due process, the right to a fair trial. Like, I cross-examine his accused. He not present. Like, what we doing? Right? You know what I mean? If what we doing was a case, what we doing right now? You understand? So she's literally moving forward. And I never forget the defense lawyer, Lindsay Merkel. She works for the public defender's office. She typing, doing research. Because it was so left field. We couldn't just think of any case law or any law to reference because it was like, what are we doing? And so, y'all, the judge was really about to start the case. At that point, I was calm. I was like, all right, well, we just going to waste our time because I just don't see this happening. But I don't mind picking a jury. Welcome back to New Orleans. You dig? I ain't tripping. You heard me? This Tulane and Broad. I didn't heard the stories before. Welcome back. It's Tulane and Broad. Typical Monday morning. We about to start this jury. My client, Casper the Ghost. But long story short, y'all, we wound up researching the case. Lindsay Marco in the cut found some case law for me. I got the case law, and it got so bad, even the judge's law clerk was like, hold up, Judge, time out. I researched this. Remember what I told you about the law clerk? So he then came to Judge White. I got the case law, and we all arrived at the same thing. It is a critical stage in the case. You can't start this case without the defendant. Now, if the defendant is here and he volunteers to not be a part of the proceedings, we could keep that thing moving. But you don't start the case without the defendant. What we doing right now? Where they do that at? You know, we had the case law, critical stage, and then the footnotes right in small print. Where they do that at, Judge White? Come on now. Come on, I know you're on your way out. I know you're about to retire, but come on. But that was one of those moments. That was one of the moments where she was like, Mr. Willis, welcome to New Orleans. That's all that was, right? For my young lawyers, that's how you don't flinch. Even in the midst of a situation where you like, hold up, man, I ain't never had it go down like this for me. Even in that situation, I was cool, calm, and collected, cited my reasons, then backed up with some case law. All the judge saw was a face that she didn't know, and she thought I was going to flinch. We bringing this jury down. I'm cool with that, Judge. This ain't nothing but an aggravated battery. I've been trying nothing but murder cases for the past 6 years in St. Landry Parish. You think I'm worried about this? Nobody died. We good. Let me pick this jury. My dog's coming. They on their way. I'm going to go ahead and pick this jury, and I'll even have an opening statement ready for you, even if my dogs don't show up. I ain't tripping. I'm not flinching. It was like, remember that video where Matt Barnes got the basketball in his hand, and he putting it in Kobe's face, and Kobe just stoic. Not flinching, not a care in the world. I'm at that podium. Respectfully, Your Honor, I disagree. My client's not here. I don't know if we can move forward without him being present. You got any case law counsel, due process, a violation of his confrontation clause to confront his accused, and where they do that at. That's how you got to be, though. You know I got to have my tidbits for my up-and-coming lawyers, man. No need to flinch. And it's crazy because the prosecutors, after we had that little issue and I was waiting for my client to come to court, I leaned over and I asked the prosecutors, I was like, y'all got the video of this thing that happened? Because it actually was on video. Until this day, they joke around with me. They was like, Kenny, man, we can't believe how you walked in court talking about you were ready for trial and you didn't even see the video. But listen, don't try this at home. Don't try this at home, my up-and-coming lawyers, but you got to have that confidence because the judge going to look to see if you're going to flinch. Yeah, but that was a critical stage. We all arrived at the issue of whether or not it was a critical stage. Back to Brian Steele, when he was at the podium and he said Young Thug wasn't there or any of the other defendants, that is a critical stage. Now we got Judge Glanville saying it wasn't a critical stage, but that whole issue is going to be in front of another judge to address whether or not Judge Glanville gets off the entire case. Y'all, so that proceedings right there is gonna be bananas, y'all. And you know your boy gonna be covering it. So that's my time, y'all. I really put some time in on this one. Like I said, I had a lot to cover. Thank you for tuning in and sticking with me. You know, normally this is a little longer than I normally do it, but I'm taking a little time with y'all, man. I love the support. The other day I ran into a friend of mine in court and she was like, yo, man, when you going to drop an episode? I was like, ooh, the pressure. But then I realized I want that pressure. I love the support. I want folks to can't wait for me to drop another episode. That's the love. And I really appreciate that, y'all, from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, that's my time, y'all. Please like, subscribe, download. I'm on all podcast platforms. Until next time, that's my time. Later.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. K.Will. He bout his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming. Believe in high level represent. Call your first witness. K.Will. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.